Oh gosh, there he is. Yep, I'm still here. It's been a rough couple of months, it has. But that's no excuse for my usual prolonged absence. And now with my allocated words to make me sound smart out of the way, I'm going to jump into what we're talking about today. The Jetsons. What, you thought I kept bringing them up in the last episode as a joke? Well, you'd be correct. However, I looked more into the franchise afterward, and it proved to be something worth investing some time into. I'll warn you, though. This episode won't nearly be as fun as the Scooby-Doo one. But more on that later.
No. Absolutely, positively, emphatically, beyond the shadow of a doubt, and oh no!
George, are you trying to tell me something?
Forget it!
Where do we start when talking about the Jetsons? Probably at their beginnings, right? That makes sense. For reference, the Flintstones, who I'm sure we'll talk about at some point on this, had 2 complete seasons under their hide and skins, I don't know, whatever they wear, before the Jetsons debuted on ABC, so Hanna-Barbera had some goodwill beforehand to make an impact. On September 23rd, 1962, the Jetsons debuted on the ABC network in the Saturday 7:30 block, prime time. The network must have had a lot of faith in the project from the start, as that slot competed with Dennis the Menace on CBS and Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color on NBC, both extremely heavy hitters in the ratings wars. Speaking of color, by the way, the Jetsons has the honor of being ABC's first program to be broadcast in color, even though most people didn't view it as such, as TVs that played it in color at the time cost extraordinarily large amounts of money. In its original primetime slot, the show lasted 1 season and showed a few follow-up reruns until it was pulled from primetime on September 22nd, 1963, a year minus a day from its debut, failing to challenge the Walt Disney block. For reference, Dennis was also cycled out at this time. They also housed another event in Jetsons history about this time, as April 12, 1963, Pat Carroll and Maury Amsterdam filed a lawsuit against Hanna-Barbera Productions, claiming breach of contract. The two were contractually obligated to originally voice Jane and George Jetson, and were promised a guarantee of 24 episodes and a pay of $500 per episode, which was a lot in the 60s, only to be replaced after 1 recording session. However, it seems they were unsuccessful in the suit, so I'm going to move on.
The Jetsons. Brought to you by Scotch Brand Magic Mending Tape. Looks rusty on the roll and invisible on the job. Scotch Brand Magic Mending Tape in the green plaid dispenser.
The first season, consisting of 24 episodes, were moved to the Saturday morning cartoon block and reran from 63 to 83, trading networks from ABC to CBS to NBC, back to CBS again and again, and so on and so forth for 20 years, which is quite impressive. After more than 20 years of recycling the same 24 episodes, finally in 1984, there were 41 new episodes produced, bringing the original cast back to voice the production, and another 10 episodes were then produced for 1987, bringing the total count to a nice 75. A little bit better than the 24 we recycled for 20 years. The series was also part of the magical phase of 87 and 88, where Hanna-Barbera had a wild hair moment and produced 10 TV movies in 14 months, referred to as the Hanna-Barbera Superstars 10. The movies slowly deteriorated in quality from movie number 1 to movie number 10. The Jetsons got movie number 3 and 7 with the fairly good crossover movie The Jetsons Meet the Flintstones on November 15th, 1987, and was followed up by the boring but ultimately harmless movie Rocking with Judy Jetsons. I have watched both of them, and I'm going to move on. This would not be the last time the family of the future would fill a larger time slot, however, but their next venture would be on the big screen.
Help! Jane, stop this crazy thing!
Jetsons the movie started production soon after the completion of the Superstars 10 movies and the Season 3's complete airing. I honestly wish the movie was more fun to talk about, and believe me, I wanted to have fun with this part, but the movie would become something more important than intended for all the wrong reasons.
Perfect!
First of all, on May 18th, 1988, early into production, Dawes Butler suffered a sudden heart attack and passed, having to be replaced before he was able to record any lines as Elroy Jetson. He was replaced by voice actor Patrick Zimmerman. However, things would continue to go very poorly for the production as it continued. The next blow to morale transpired on February 11th, 1989, when the voice of George Jetson, but more importantly, beloved cast member and actor/comedian George O'Hanlon, after finishing up the last bits of his dialogue, collapsed into his wife's arm at the recording studio, having suffered a second stroke, passing that day. It said he went out doing the thing that he loved to do. The studio was understandably devastated with the loss of their dear friend, and morale was at an all-time low. However, even more upsetting is that this wouldn't even be the end of the problems plaguing the production.
Teen pop singer Tiffany is making her movie debut in the animated feature film The Jetsons. She plays George Jetson's daughter, Judy, and she says her experience singing to hordes of fans didn't prepare her for the first time she heard her voice in the theater.
It was around this time that, despite the fact she had recently finished recording all of her parts in the production, Janet Waldo, the voice of Judy Jetson, was to be replaced and re-recorded by pop star Tiffany, herself in only her late teens at the time. This choice to change cast understandably devastated Janet, who felt betrayed by the studio she had been so loyal to, seemingly just so they could cash in on the singer's popularity, a disdain shared by the voice director of the film, Andrea Romano, who went on to ask that her name be removed from the credits upon completion. The last devastating blow happened on July 10th, 1989, when Mel Blanc, the voice of Mr. Spacely, as well as hundreds of other cartoon characters from both Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers, passed away after a long battle with coronary artery disease. With the passing of these pivotal actors in the series, the movie would now more or less serve as a grand finale swan song for the series. Looking back, you can kind of tell looking at it. The colors are a much darker tone. There's a more detailed contrast in comparison to the series' usually extremely bright palette. And additionally, you can tell the budget allowed for some extremely detailed shading by comparison. All in all, the pace, the colors, the music, and the animation as a whole gives a more serious tone to the production. Notes from me include it's painfully accurate that Tiffany is not experienced in this in any way. The movie itself is absolutely beautiful to look at, and frankly serves very nicely to the end of the series. But timing wasn't the best financially.
Now the folks at Wendy's have a fun way for your whole family to meet the Jetsons. Because when you come to Wendy's, we'll give you a free Jetsons the Movie Cup. Just order the Jetpack.
While originally supposed to come out in December of '89, it was delayed till July 6th of 1990, as to not compete with Don Bluth's All Dogs Go to Heaven and Disney's The Little Mermaid. However, that wouldn't save the movie, as it opened pretty bad financially. And to be fair, the movie itself was just okay. All cards on the table, it isn't all that great. Outside the movie, though, the Jetsons have popped up a couple of times, like in commercials, the Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera ride, and occasionally a cameo on a TV show here and there. But the movie did serve as the finale for a long time. I say a long time, as 27 years later, the WWE produced a crossover film, The Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania. proving for enough money, nothing is sacred to the WWE. However, where does this leave the Jetsons? Well, a live-action series has allegedly been in the works for years now, and I'm not really sure we need another iteration. Honestly, the original series is ideal nostalgic viewing. However, the WWE has already destroyed the sacred ending established for the series, so honestly, I'm up for anything at this point.
Fortunately, my house can rise above the air pollution, but your lungs can't. We could all use a breath of fresh air. Tell your parents to write a call to the National Clean Air Coalition to find out how your family can help reduce pollution. Let's make the future crystal clear.
But that's it. The life and death of the Jetsons. A proper beginning, middle, and end, and then also WrestleMania. Who knows what the future holds, though. Anyway, that's all I've got. I appreciate you staying on board the channel and this video, and I hope you had a good time, and a good night, and everything I normally tell to close, and maybe I'll see you in a month, maybe in 2 months, maybe in a week. Who knows at this point. Anyway, have a good night, see you later.